Hello everyone and welcome to the next episode of Console Watch. The Cube 3 series that pits both the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series consoles against one another to find out which one is best for you or for us, whoever. Doesn't really matter, does it? I am joined by Sandy Kirchner-Wilson.
Welcome.
And Luke Hemming.
Evening, strangers.
And in today's episode, we are going to be talking about specific console features for both the Xbox Series consoles and the PlayStation 5, and which ones sort of nudge one over the other. Luke, let's start with you on the Xbox Series X or S. What would you say is the most standout best feature jumping from Xbox One to Series that you recall?
I'm not sure it's the best feature, but I know it's the feature that everyone will have at the forefront of their minds when they think about it, and that's the quick resume.
It's the one I was thinking of. So.
Yeah. When you think about these choices, quick resume was sold as a big marketing thing with the Xbox, and yeah, it's great. Turn on a game, takes you back exactly where you were. As much as I'm campaigning for Xbox here, it works to a point. It never feels consistent, and people I know that have had Xbox, I know you've got one yourself, we've all experienced that issue of the quick resume, loading back into it and being dropped back to that start screen. I don't know why that is, and I would have hoped that with an Xbox coming out of the gate with this as one of its major features, that just should have been no hassle at all.
Yeah, I think I've played a couple of games that have it. Well, most games have it, obviously. And I think the one thing is any game that's connected to an online service, even if you're not playing online, I noticed that it will act a bit weird. Or sometimes I'll go into a game, but for some reason the soundtrack hasn't loaded. It's not resuming the soundtrack. So I've gone back into a game like Power Rangers, for example, and you go in there and music's not there. Like the sound effects are, but music's not playing either in the levels or in the menus. Or I go back into another game and it'll kick me out, and I have to go all the way back to the start screen because it's not connected to the online service anymore. But all in all, I often find that it does work. But I know you said you had a particular problem in a particular game.
I did, yeah. Do we mention the name of this game?
Yeah, go for it. Why not?
Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I've looked this up as well. This is a massive issue that a lot of people are having. This wasn't an isolated incident with mine. Whereas there is your manual saves being overwritten by your quick resume, but your quick resume takes you back to the last time you quick resumed it. So for me, I played Assassin's Creed, knocked her off to go have some lunch, gone back to it, fine, no issue with the quick resume restarting. But then I played 3 days worth of Assassin's Creed, saved it, and the Xbox has gone, oh, well, you obviously want a quick resume because that's our latest and greatest feature. And I lost that 3 days of progress, and it was absolutely soul destroying.
Can you turn quick resume off by game? So, for example, you can just say, don't activate quick resume on Assassin's Creed. I'm sure you'd have to boot back in every single time, but...
I've tried. As far as I know, you can't, because I thought that would be the quick fix. The quick fix is actually saving and manually going back to the UI and quitting the game from there. So you're kind of like bypassing the quick resume.
Sure. Okay.
And that's fine. That does work then, but to have to go looking for these things and to have to find out in such a way, that kind of soured me on the whole quick resume experience.
Yeah, no, and PlayStation 5, so Assassin's Creed Valhalla on there. Sandy, have you played Assassin's Creed on PlayStation 5 by any chance?
I actually haven't,
No?
believe it or not.
Do any of the games on PlayStation 5 have quick resume or a similar feature?
So they don't have quick resume as such, but the PlayStation 5 does support multiple suspended apps. So you can come out of one app, open another, and then come back out of that and go back to the other app you had open. And that should persist through rest mode. I've not tested it myself, but that is how that's meant to work, I believe.
I was playing Spider-Man Remastered, and I would often go, I'd put my PlayStation 5 into rest, then I'll jump back in and I'll turn it back on, and I'm still hanging over the part in New York where I was before. So it does work to an extent, but I don't think it works on multiple games. Maybe similar to how the Xbox One worked with predecessor to what would have been Quick Resume. No, it's interesting. I mean, in terms of another feature rich from the PlayStation 5, then what would you say is another great feature?
So I was originally going to talk about these individually, but in a way, it's like they're multiplayer game-based features. So we've got a screen share feature built into the console, which means that anyone else who's playing on a PS5, you can zap them your screen viewpoint and they can see what you're up to and dock that anywhere on their screen. We've used that before for streaming, and it's it's pretty good. It's basically no delay and nice and clear.
Can't go using our streams against me, Sandy. Yep. Using our enjoyment.
You've given me some fuel to add to that fire. But so I had to research these because I don't play a lot of online games. But the PS5 does also natively support game challenges, so it'll keep track of, say, like speedruns and things like this. And the console itself and PlayStation Network will use them to sort of base everyone's times to complete missions and things like that. All automated, no player input needed for any of that stuff. As well as having the ability to give accolades to other players, which is new. I know it's not technically a console feature, that one, but it's there. It's interesting, and
it wasn't a feature. It wasn't a feature I was aware of, so that is something. That was something new.
I'll leave the multiplayer ones there because I think there's one or two more, but I'm a bit rough on exactly how they work.
Okay, and then Luke, I mean, is there anything that then does something similar to what Sandy just discussed there, or is there another power-based thing that you'd like to go for, and an Xbox type of advantage?
Well, I didn't think this would go the way that it's going, but thinking about what Sandy was talking about there, I was all ready to tell you about the power side of the Xbox. Xbox has got variable refresh rates, auto HDR, all of these things with no user input. Your games will look the best they've ever looked with no interaction from yourself. As soon as you pop that disc in, things will upscale, things will look fantastic, depending on your setup. And I think that's a great thing for someone like I'm lazy. Yes, I want the best things to look at. I don't want it to look as great as it will if I'm paying the money for it. But I'm certainly not going to bother going through every option I can find to make sure that is happening. I'm not a PC gamer. I just want my games to play them. And I thought that would absolutely cover it. But Sandy talking about the multiplayer and the accolades and the challenges, there's something I remember from the PS5 that I use. And I've got to admit, I use it all the time.
I think I know what you're going to say here.
Well, I've just started massive multiplayer online gaming, which is an easy way to lose your life and your career and everything. But one tap of that PS button and it'll tell me exactly how long I've got left for what I'm doing. So if I'm doing a certain quest or something, it'll say, this is the quest you're doing. On average, you'll be doing this for another 10 minutes. On average, there's 10% left of your story. And it's fantastic. Like, I absolutely love that feature. And I love that I can go into that if I want as well and see how other people have done it, see what tips people have given. Like, it's got access to that multiplayer community with the touch of a button, which I don't think Xbox covers. But I totally thought Xbox would win this with all the features. But Sandy's totally messed me up here by reminding me how much fun it is when you actually play multiplayer and being busy, because we are all busy. Yeah, it is. Like we're at that age now where we're all busy, and knowing that I only have to put another 10 minutes into something, or I'm going to leave something for another day because that's going to take an hour. That really is a great feature. Damn.
The design of it can come in a later conversation, but
the
feature itself is
horrific. But yeah, for what it is, great.
I remember when I was playing Spider-Man, and you would press, I think I'd press the home button, or I might even press something else, and it would come up with the sort of trophies and stuff that I've got left to do, and stuff like that. But I think you're right, in terms of the quest, it was telling me like I've only got a certain amount of time on average to do it. Trophies, I don't think necessarily are. I think trophies and
trophies and achievements are
really, aren't they?
Comparable these days.
But no, that is, to be honest, I'd completely forgot that as a feature as well. Maybe Sony need to scream and shout out about that.
I'd forgotten it, and I don't think there would have been a question if that wasn't in there.
So variable refresh rate, your Xbox keeps up to tune with your TV. Smart delivery, you get the right game installed on the variant that you have, let's say, whether it be Xbox One, Series S or X, and it upscales accordingly. You've got quick resume and things like that. And then on the other side, on PlayStation, you've got this multiplayer faction thing. You've got sort of the rest mode / quick resume on their side. Anything else?
So, I mean, you've got accidental auto HDR on PS4 games.
Accidental auto HDR. Brilliant.
It's not a feature, it's an accident. Yeah, for some reason, PlayStation 5, if you have HDR turned to, I think it's called always on in the settings, then PS4 games, even ones that didn't have HDR, will have HDR. And it's pretty well tone mapped. It doesn't look odd. But some games will suffer from being slightly over vibrant. I think it's something they could leverage into a feature, for sure. But they'd seem to be reluctant to advertise it.
Auto HDR on Xbox is actually auto, and it tells you when it's auto as well. It comes up.
What I will say as well about the versions, it's such a hodgepodge on the PS5.
On the PlayStation, yeah.
I'm playing. I'll be half hour into a game, and I'm like, why isn't Miles Morales reflecting? Why is Spider-Man reflecting on that building? Where are all my puddles gone? Oh, I played the PS4 version, and I had no idea why. And you've decided to download both to my console and killed my storage.
So yeah, I mean that's essentially what smart delivery does on Xbox. Whereas I had the same issue with Call of Duty. I downloaded the PS4 version of Call of Duty instead of PS5. It is that's something I think they have addressed now, but at launch it was an issue.
So even as the PlayStation Defender, it was terrible. And I think recently they might have fixed it, but it's still kind of up in the air when you put in a PS4 game that has a PS5 upgrade. What will actually happen? How do you get the PS5 version that you're looking for?
Well, Final Fantasy was fun. Yeah.
But when you first, before they put up the update, everyone was like, "So, how do we do it? What's the secret to the upgrade?" And I think that one is definitely where Xbox wins out on that side of things.
The last thing I think is the big buzz thing this generation: 4K, 120 hertz. Now I remember, fairly certain, Sony touting they were going to say 8K at one point. I don't know if that's even. They say the PlayStation 5 is possible of it. I don't think 8K TVs are wide in the market at the moment. But
they do claim that PS5 supports 8K.
Yeah, no.
But I don't know if anyone can test it.
Yeah. At 4K 120 hertz, do you think that both of these consoles achieve that and they achieve it well? But both of them shrugged. Definitely have to put that in. That was a reaction.
I mean, where it's supported, the PS5 appears to have absolutely no issues running that 4K 120, except say in games like Ratchet and Clank, where they're 4K 120. It's 120 hertz, but it's only 40 FPS. because of the fidelity of the graphics, it literally can't go higher than that. But you do get your increased response times and stuff like that as well. So it's not like you don't get a benefit from having that 120 hertz mode.
Yeah, the PS5 seems to have introduced this performance mode into so many of the games. Again, I'm going back to Spider-Man here, but you could have it in 4K 60 with ray tracing enabled or non-ray tracing and stuff like that. And they have all of these, but it doesn't seem to be doing what they said it was going to do on the tin. They said initially, these games are going to be 4K 120 hertz, and we seem to be seeing a lot of 4K at 60. We're seeing a lot of 120 hertz at 1080, and that's on the Xbox as well, by the way. Mm-hmm. Do you guys feel slightly let down on this, or are you both okay the fact that it's 4K at 60?
I think if I had...
Yeah.
Go on, Sandy, sorry.
No, you go first.
I was just going to say, if I had that technology, then I would feel cheated. If I had a TV that was going to do this, then, yeah, like you said, what they promised is not quite what we're getting at the moment.
Yeah. So when the PS5 was being talked about initially, obviously the 4K 60 conversation came up. And I think for a large part, 4K 60 is being achieved. Maybe not with full ray tracing and things like that, but then ray tracing on PC can absolutely murder even the most powerful machines. So seeing that drop the frame rate to 30, but still a solid 30 is, it's acceptable in my eyes. But the 120 hertz conversation only really came around sort of as the PS5 launched. So I guess it was never really that big a part of their marketing at that point. So I don't know if I'd be disappointed if it couldn't quite reach it all the time.
See, I am a bit disappointed because I did buy a new TV last November for this purpose. I thought, right, all these games are going to be in 120 hertz 4K. It's going to look amazing, and they do look amazing with the ray tracing enabled and 4K at 60. But the fact that I'm having to compromise now, there's a few games, Call of Duty, one of them, only multiplayer. The campaigns at 4K 60, and to me that blows my mind. I don't understand why it's not the other way around. I'm surprised they can do 120 hertz multiplayer. But I think Gears of War has the same thing as well. The multiplayer is 120 hertz with campaigns 60. I do feel somewhat a little bit let down, but I'm hoping that as we progress through the generation and they get a little bit more comfortable, let's say, then perhaps we will get that. Okay, so then let's boil down to this because we are well over time on this one. But who's getting the point?
Wow.
I to be honest, it's really interesting because I think I use quick resume quite a lot, and the features that you have on the console are sort of automatically baked in on the Xbox. So once you know that they're there, you kind of just let slip, really. On the PS5, I just don't think there are that many.
Yeah, on the power and output side of things, I think the PlayStation would just come in below Xbox. It was that initial problem they had. I don't know if they've resolved it, where if you plug it into a 1440p monitor, the PS5 literally wouldn't display.
Yeah,
it didn't support it at all. And I think, as much as I want to defend the PlayStation, I think its in-console features are great, but that loophole is probably enough to put it below, because Xbox does support that.
Luke, you're in agreement? Sandy's giving you the point here.
I tried to give him the point. But I'm a gamer who just likes everything done for me. It's great that I know those features are there. It's great that I know that I'm looking at the best version of a game I can be playing. And it's not to say that the internal features of the PlayStation, I think probably got the Xbox beat, but you're in next gen for a reason, and I think that reason is to have your games looking as great as they possibly can. And I think that's probably why it edges it.
I mean, on a final note, PS5, excellent 4K Blu-ray player.
Oh yeah, I mean,
surely the Xbox
does 4K Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Xbox One X did, but it had issues with that because of the Microsoft Blu-ray player not being great, like the actual app for it. I don't know if they fixed that with the.
No, they haven't fixed the app. The app is still the same.
Whereas with PlayStation, you'd put the disc in, boom, plays.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it then. So
yeah,
another point to the Xbox, and that goes down on console features. That's crazy. Okay, so thank you very much, both Luke and Sandy, for another episode of Console Clash. Guys, you know exactly where to join us for the next episode. Come back to us, watch us. We'll be discussing more features that you will definitely be interested in hearing. But guys, thank you for everything. That's everything.